Welcome to Design Your CEO Life. I'm your host, Shay Cannon. I've designed my CEO life to live and work my business from anywhere in the world. I started this journey in Belize. I lived in Mexico for 3 years the first time. I've been in Costa Rica, Argentina, went back to Mexico, and now I am truly living my best life on the way to a year-long tour of Southeast Asia. In fact, you're watching this tonight live. I will be heading to the airport in the morning on the way to Vietnam. Exciting, right? So, thank you for joining me as I share conversations, stories, and strategies to help you to design your CEO life. We're officially over halfway through season 3. Can you believe it? I can believe it. I feel like we've done great work together in the first 2 seasons and now in this season. I'm so excited that we're continuing this work. So, you've already been told that we're on a mission. We're not waiting, we're not pretending, we're no longer making excuses. We're building businesses and lives that feel good for real. No fake lives allowed, okay? If you're new here, be sure to go back and check out past seasons and past episodes of this season because we've been building up to this season. We've been kind of, I'm going to say, gradually getting you here. But now we're next level. No unnecessary fluff, no delaying on the good life, just radical ownership and unapologetic action to start living our best CEO life. So remember, this is a conversation. It may seem like I'm the only one talking, but I know that you're talking to. I know that you're talking back to me when I say things. I know you have your own thoughts. And guess what? I want to know what they are. I want to know what you think about some of the concepts I'm introducing you to. I want to know what you agree with, what resonates with you, and even the things you don't agree with. So do me a favor and find me on social media. I am at Shay Cannon COO everywhere. That's at sign SHACANNON everywhere. Tag me and tell me what you're thinking about the show. I just really want to hear from you. All right. So you see, we're on the light coral baby tea. So guess what? We are on an even. No, this is an odd episode. Okay, this season, if you haven't figured it out yet, that I'm alternating between baby teas, kind of like a uniform. Okay, because I have packed up for Southeast Asia. I didn't want to have to worry about, complicated styling and jewelry and all the good stuff. So I'm keeping it simple this season. This episode I have titled F approval. That's right. F approval. So let's get into it. And let me warn you, I have a little cough going on. Excuse me. Because I came home to Georgia before going to Asia, and my grandbaby got me a little sick. But hang in there with me, all right? So, this one episode is giving the middle finger energy, respectfully, of course, to the need for validation. We're stepping out of the people pleasing matrix. We're shaking off the addiction to approval, and we're stepping into unapologetic self trust because real leaders, real innovators, real trailblazers, they're misunderstood first and revered later. All right? So, if this episode title made you clutch your pearls, good, because this is going to be about rubbing a little bit in the point, right? So, we're using a little strong verbiage. Excuse me. We're using a little strong verbiage just to get the point across, all right? So, if it's not about being unnecessarily provocative. What we're talking about and emphasizing is thriving without applause, without permission, without over explaining your life, your business, your whatever to other people who don't get your assignment. All right. This is your official permission slip to be unbothered and unapologetic. The problem, so many brilliant women are shrinking. Yeah. Not because you aren't ready, not because you're afraid of not being able to help. It's mostly because you guys are afraid of how you'll be perceived. Okay? So you don't want to ruffle feathers. You don't want to outshine anyone. You don't want to confuse people about who you are. You don't want your mom and them, cousin, friends, your friend circle, your social media followers side eyeing the decisions that you make. So, what do? You wait, you water yourself down, you try to stay small, you second guess yourself, and that second guessing is costing you growth, impact, and peace. Now, I'm getting into it now, coughing and all. Let me take the glasses off so that you can hear me better. All right? Because so many times, what we need to be in this world and the purpose that we have and who we have to be to fulfill that purpose, we have to get bigger. We have to take up space. We have to do the thing that will put us out there to be judged, to be critiqued. But I want you to start letting go of the need for approval that you have been programmed with. All right? Because again, everything is weird and everything is probably not the best thing to be doing until it works. All right? Until you insist on with confidence in doing it so that people see you and hear you, then what are you? That's when you become the trailblazer, right? That's when you're the one that was different that did it. But you have to have the confidence to go against the grain, to go against the disapproval that's going to inevitably come first. So let's get through that programming, okay? That programming that tells us that we have to be like everybody else. That programming that tells us that we should not stand out. So let's talk about childhood experiences, right? And how we were indoctrinated into the programming by being rewarded by complying, right? We were punished individually when we did things unlike others, right? If we did things against the programming, that was shunned. That was, not looked highly upon. So you're told you're too much. You could be told you've changed, okay, which is another code word for you're not like everybody else. For Black women and BIPOC women, especially, our upbringing and our culture and our generational conditioning tells us to be grateful and content. Don't be disruptive. But you didn't come here to placate people. We didn't come here to be like everybody else. We came here to be powerful in our purpose. And our purpose is not like being everybody else. So approval is a delay tactic. It's disguised as safety, right? If I can hide amongst the other people and not stand out, if I can get approval every time, right, then things will be okay. I will be safe. But when we do that, we are delaying what is our purpose because our purpose never lies in hiding. It never lies in being like everybody else. So is it safe or is it an excuse? So the people you're waiting on to tell you yes to your idea, your brand, your voice, they're often not even qualified to judge your path. It's not their purpose, it's not their vision, it's yours. They're not going to see what you see. They're not going to understand the steps that need to be taken like you understand them. So stop outsourcing your destiny to folks who've never built what you're about to build. They're not qualified. Okay? Being misunderstood is a rite of passage. People that we admire, the disruptors, the creatives, the CEOs, the innovators, none of them had universal approval when they started, right? Some of them didn't have approval of family members, loved ones, spouses, parents. They were side-eye, critiqued, dismissed, all the things that we're trying to run from until they weren't. Yeah. So we always have this phase of not quite being like everybody else, not quite fitting in, not quite being the norm before people realize that, yeah, it's crazy until it works. It's crazy until it works, right? So I want you to think about some of the people that you know and that you admire and how they were bold way before we ever gave them the credit of being a great or an icon or um, the GOAT, the greatest to ever do it, type of person. Before they were given the grandeur label, before that, they were weird. Before that, they got critiqued and told that maybe they should stop doing that. Or what are you doing? Or that's weird, that doesn't seem right. Think about some of those people, right? So, yeah, Kobe Bryant came out of high school straight to the NBA. How many people told him he should have went to college? You need to get your education. That's not a great move. Until he became one of the greatest players ever, always compared to Jordan, right? Now we got LeBron James that came in his footsteps, coming straight out of high school to the NBA. Now it doesn't seem weird, does it? Right? Let's talk about Patti LaBelle. Okay, when she was Patti and the LaBelles, right? Patti was always weird. She always dressed with crazy hairstyles and crazy outfits, right? Until she became the icon, the one of the best voices in the industry. But you have to be who you need to be to before you ever get the title. So you can't always be looking for approval because the people trying to approve you are not qualified for your purpose. I keep saying it for a reason. So being misunderstood is a rite of passage. So the moment you're being misunderstood, you should understand that you might be on the right path, right? Because it might be your rite of passage that's happening. So we need to understand that when we're doing something different, it's not going to look like what people have seen before. And we would think that should be in our brain. I mean, it's different. But let me say it again. When you are doing something different, it's not going to look like what people have seen before. And it's not supposed to. So all of that approval and all of that, no, that's not needed. They don't even know where you're going. You're going into uncharted territory. So no approval needed. All right. So let's talk about emotional intelligence, because I feel like emotional intelligence is one of those superpowers that's going to help you to regulate and feel powerful in the face of disapproval or misunderstanding or being misunderstood. Okay. Because if you're going to stop performing for approval, you need to have emotional regulation to manage the discomfort, the rejection, and the conflict that rises up inside. Okay? So let's break it down with a few tools that you can use, all right? So the first thing I want you to think about is self-awareness. You need to know your triggers. You need to understand that you're really afraid of being judged, or maybe being abandoned, or maybe you're afraid of being wrong. But you need to understand what your triggers are so that you can talk to that trigger. We're not talking to the person that's disapproving. All of this is internal work. Okay? So be self aware, because what comes up when you have a fear of being critiqued are things from inside. It's not necessarily outside, right? Let me explain that better. Things on the outside don't matter unless they match the things on the inside. And what I mean by that is, if you know you're pretty, if somebody on the outside calls you ugly, you don't worry about that. But if you think you're ugly and somebody calls you ugly, that outside is matching the inside and exacerbating your feelings. Okay? So if we can become self aware, and we can understand that we know we are doing something new. We know we're walking a path that we've never walked before, and we know everything is not going to be correct all the time. We know that everything is not going to look the way that everything has looked. Then we can have that conversation with ourselves in our self-awareness. We can understand that, hey, I'm feeling this way not because I'm on the wrong path. I'm feeling this way because this is different and it's uncomfortable. I'm feeling this way because this person is rejecting my ideas, but I need to remember that that person is not qualified to reject my ideas. I'm feeling this way because I'm conflicted with doing something different than what I normally do. Self-awareness, emotional intelligence, we're going to use self-awareness. The next thing we're going to use is, when we become aware, we're going to use self-regulation. Okay? We need to learn to feel without reacting. Okay? The worst thing you could do is try to not feel. You're supposed to feel. That's a part of our humanity. But you're supposed to feel without reacting in negative ways that bring about negative energy and negative results. So your peace should not be so easily snatched and dysregulated by a look, by a comment, by a lack of likes on social media. Okay? So, self regulation. We feel the feeling, but we don't have a negative reaction. Okay? Learn how to self regulate. That can look like breath work. That could look like exercise, yoga. That could look like music, right? But you do something so that you stay even keeled. You stay regulated. Okay? The next thing we want to have is motivation. Okay? Our emotional intelligence, we want to have some motivation, because at the end of the day, you gotta be led by the mission and the vision, not the mood, not the lack of applause. Okay? Sometimes when we have a mission and a vision and we have a path forward, things happen, obstacles come, and we might have to change the path. We might have to change the steps. We don't change the mission and the vision. We've heard the quote, there's more than one way to skin a cat, right? Well, as we're figuring new things out, we might have to skin a cat a different way, using a different tool, using different things. But we still need to skin the cat, right? So never lose sight of the mission and the vision, even if you have to change course to get there. All right? Some people have straight lines. Some people might have to take a left. Some people take a right. Some people are zigzag. Some people is up and down. But the goal should remain the same. The vision, the mission should remain the same. So be motivated by the purpose, not by approval, not by things always going well. All right? The next thing that we need for our emotional intelligence toolbox is going to be empathy. Yeah, empathy. So understand others without internalizing what they're trying to project on you, right? So we can understand that people love us and they're afraid for us, and still do the daring thing and still be bold, right? Sometimes their disapproval is more about their own limitations and not our choices and not what we're doing, not who we are, not what our strengths and weaknesses are. Okay? So have empathy. We don't have to be mad at people because they disapprove, but we also don't accept that projection onto us. Okay? So empathize without allowing it to seep in. Last but not least, I need you to have some social skills. Okay? Don't be afraid of having hard conversations. But we should only be having hard conversations with the people that matter. We don't have to have hard conversations with every single person that disapproves. Every single person that disapproves don't really count, right? But for those that matter, we might have to have hard conversations. So set hard boundaries. Be okay with the discomfort that comes when people see us upgrade who we are and no longer fit the mold that they had for us. So, social skills. Be okay with discomfort in a social environment around people who matter and people who don't matter. All right. Now, the double edged sword of approval is that it feels good when we get it. But if you need it, then you're owned by it. Okay. So, if you need approval, you will shape shift your message, your offers, your actions, your boundaries, your peace to get it. And see, that's expensive. Way too expensive. It's too high a price to pay for approval. Okay? So I've worked with CEOs and business owners, entrepreneurs for a long time. And what I know is it even shows up in business. Let me give you a few examples. Some people avoid niching down, right? Because they don't want to alienate some people. They don't want people to think that they're leaving them out. That's going to affect their business. I love to say that my business is for Black and BIPOC women. I niche down even more, right? Because I have a special affinity. Now, does that mean I can't help men, Black men, white men? I can help anybody. But who I choose to focus on is Black and BIPOC women. I'm fine with that. I don't need anybody's approval to do that, especially in this day and age where DEI is being taken away in certain instances when it wasn't just for us anyway. Yeah, let me go ahead and speak loud and proud that I'm for us. Okay? It also comes up as delaying launching something because you want everybody to get it, or keeping your price too low to avoid people saying that's too much. Keeping your content vanilla to avoid conflict. Yeah, I love to drop F bombs and cuss words to put a little flavor and emphasis on stuff. I don't just keep a string of cuss words going, but I don't mind using a little cuss word for a little emphasis, right? And the funny thing is, on this entire show, I haven't actually used the word, right? Even this episode is called F approval. I didn't say the word, but you knew what I was talking about. You cannot be afraid to put flavor into your content just because you feel like you're going to avoid people judging you. I want you to F approval, and I mean it. Okay, so I'm going to say it, F approval. So you cannot design your CEO life if you're living in fear of what other people think of you. You just cannot. You're going to be a prisoner of other people. And the funny thing about it is most of those people are a prisoner of somebody else. They don't even, most of those people aren't the right people, again, unqualified, to be holding you hostage under their approval. Take it away. Take that need away. So let's reframe some stuff, okay? Being misunderstood doesn't mean that you're wrong. It means sometimes that you're early, okay? It means you're breaking out of a mold. It means you're walking a path that was not built for everybody. Maybe it wasn't built before. And now what we're doing is we're going to normalize something that was not normal before. And when we normalize it, that's when it becomes celebrated. Okay? So you got work to do. Because all you have to do is be persistent with it. And more people will start to gather to condone it, right? That same thing that wasn't approved before is going to slowly gather approval and then become the norm. Okay. So we have to lead with emotional intelligence when people challenge our decisions. Okay. Because they're going to do that. They're going to challenge us. So not everyone is owed an explanation. I want you to remember that. I want you to remember that you can disagree without defending yourself. Okay. I want you to know that you can use a sentence that can end it as a complete response by saying, I hear you. That just doesn't work for me. Put that in your back pocket. Okay. Because you could just leave it at that. But you can be firm and still kind. You can also use silence to your advantage because sometimes silence is the most emotionally intelligent thing that you can do. Kill them with silence. So let me give you a few real world scenarios. I just want to make sure that we got this right. I want to give you a few scenarios and how you're going to use emotional intelligence in the scenario. So someone doesn't like how you've changed or pivot. Okay. What you need now is that how do I stay grounded in my why of why I changed? Instead of being knocked off course by what other people think about and ground yourself in why am I doing this? Okay. Another scenario could be your family doesn't support your vision. All right. Well, now you think, how can I move forward anyway? What other support can I substitute if I don't have familiar support, right? Last but not least, you feel ghosted or unfollowed, right? Well, I need you to trust yourself. I need you to trust that when you're doing something different, some people will fall away, but the right people will fall into place. Okay? So think about those scenarios and those ways of dealing with it. So we even have some mantras. Been doing a few mantras this season. So here are a few for this episode. I trust myself more than I trust others' opinions. I trust myself more than I trust others' opinions. My purpose is not a group project. My purpose is not a group project. Approval is optional. Alignment is not. Approval is optional. Alignment is not. Respect is nice, but not a prerequisite for my next move. I feel like I messed that one up. But respect is nice, but it's not a prerequisite for my next move. Okay? You can even substitute the word respect for approval. Approval is nice, but it's not a necessary thing for my next move. Okay? So those are some great mantras to keep in mind when you are faced with disapproval of your moves, decisions, and actions, right? So others may never get it, and that's okay. Your job is not to be understood by everyone. It's to live a life that makes sense to you and the purpose that has chosen you. A lot of people say the purpose that they've chose, but I think what you'll find is purposes have chosen you. So some folks will only understand your boundaries when they feel them, right? They will understand the boundaries when they feel them. Some will only respect your voice when you use it. Some will only believe your vision once they see it. And some won't. But at the end of the day, still go on. Okay? So I want to give you some tools. You know, I give you tools every episode. I want to give you some tools for to build approval independence is what I want to call it, I think. So number one, build an inner board of directors. Okay. So inside you have a small circle that you trust for real feedback, right? So for me, I have my business besties. That's four women that I can tell stuff. They know me. They trust that I know what I'm doing. And when I bounce stuff off of them, that they are trusted to give me good feedback. I don't have to worry about, unnecessary approval and all of those things. So build a board of directors or just your inner circle of advisors, okay? And make them qualified for what you're giving advice on. So the same people that you go to for business may not be the same people you go to about your marriage, okay? Keep that in mind. All right, the next thing I want you to do is create a confidence resume. All right, and that's a list of things that you've done without anybody's permission. Okay, because sometimes we have to build that confidence muscle up in different areas. So, what's all the stuff that you've done with success without anybody's permission? You didn't ask nobody, right? And you didn't need to ask anybody, and it worked out just fine. Make a list. Next thing you can do is you can practice in the mirror. You can do mirror work, affirmations, those mantras that we've done, where you're just looking at yourself and you're giving yourself these permissions and empowering yourself. All right. Last but not least, I love a good journal. You can journal things like, what would I do if I wasn't worried about being liked? That would be a great prompt. What would I do if I wasn't worried about making everybody happy? What would I do if I wasn't worried about people giving me permission? Start journaling these things so that you can connect with it. All right. So the biggest regrets are not the things you tried and failed at. It's always going to be the things you didn't do because you were scared of what people will say. So I need you to understand that people pleasing builds resentment. But authenticity, you being authentic to yourself, now that builds a life you actually want to wake up and live. All right. So it's challenge time. It's challenge time. I want you to choose one big thing, just one, that you've been holding back on because you were waiting on approval. A post you didn't share, an offer you haven't launched yet, a no you haven't said to somebody else, not yourself, a boundary you haven't enforced. I want you to go and do it. And then I want you to let me know about it, okay? So tag me and tell me about this stuff, okay? Tell me that you did it scared and you did it anyway. If you want a little more homework or a little more of a challenge, start to write a list. And we're going to call this list, I love to name the list. We're going to call this list your F approval list. And what you're going to put on this are things that you no longer are asking permission for. So you want to have this list, you want to add to it as often as possible, and you want to review it as often as possible, right? Look at it as a guide for your decisions, because once you stop needing approval, you start moving like a CEO with a mission. And that's a whole different kind of glow up, okay? So I want you to go forth with confidence, even when you are misunderstood. And I want you to use your emotional intelligence despite who may not agree and give you pushback. All right? Great. Yes, I am a CEO, but I provide award-winning fractional chief operating officer services to an exclusive clientele of 6 and 7-figure CEOs. I've been featured by Delta Airlines, Time Global, Fast Company, Thrive Global, and more. I use my superpowers to position Black and brown female online service-based entrepreneurs to find their first 6 figures with a focus on time freedom. If that's you, I'd like to invite you to my free group. It's a free business mastermind group where we build community, create collaborations, and have conversations to provide you with transformational business growth. Join us by going to shaycannon.info/group. That's shaycannon.info/group. That's all for this episode. It's been a pleasure having you to tune in. So, CEO, go design a life worth living. Bye for now.